Star Wars 7 by 7 episode 2407. You know what I realized that we haven't talked about yet on this show? Andor, the series that's coming to Disney Plus in 2022, at least, fingers crossed for that. We never talked about it after they had the big announcements on the Disney Investor Day, so I thought I'd revisit what's going on with Andor right now. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7 by 7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So Andor is officially the name of the series that stars Diego Luna, who is reprising his role from Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. It is fascinating how all of the Disney Plus series so far seem to be named after their characters, right? The Mandalorian, Andor, Kenobi, Rangers of the New Republic, which is presumably going to be about those Rangers, The Acolyte, which is going to be about the Acolyte, Ahsoka, right? Well, I guess it's a good pattern to get into. The Book of Boba Fett, right? And yes, like I said at the top, Andor as well. And I have to say that Diego Luna's enthusiasm for it is so infectious. It was just a joy to revisit the sizzle reel that they produced and him talking about, the sets and preparing for the stunts and the bittersweetness of the premiere of Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, knowing that character was going to die in the movie, and then just the magic that happens for him as he gets called back to reprise the role for this sprawling, epic series that's coming to Disney Plus. I mean, I think that's the thing that struck me the most in watching that sizzle reel and the reveals from the Disney Plus day, that there's going to be 12 episodes, that there'll be 200 named characters and 6,000 people for crowds. I mean, that just doesn't really happen these days. That number of people in a movie shoot, it's crazy. It really is. I mean, I was just reflecting with someone about how I signed somebody's cast, somebody who is, a bit older than me and had broken their leg. And I signed the cast with MMMMM. And the guy looked at me like I was crazy. And I went cast of thousands because that was the joke from the movie previews of, the 60s and 50s when they would get these giant biblical epics and they would say, with a cast of thousands, because they would have so many extras on set. And that actually went over really well, I was pleased to say. He just kind of lit up and went, ah, when I did that. And so that was a wonderful moment, and I was reflecting on the fact that there's not going to be anything like that very much anymore. Just the way movies are made, it's going to be rather unlikely to have a cast of thousands. But here we are with Andor, and it will literally be a cast of 6,000 people in this series. At least the first season of the series, because Alan Tudyk, who was supposed to play K2SO, it was announced that he was going to be in season 1 of this, is now not going to be in season 1, but Alan is saying that he may yet appear in future seasons of the show. So that's, of course, assuming that season 1 goes well, fingers crossed, our lips to God's ears, and the fact that they're thinking of this epic of a scope, and they're thinking of multiple seasons, amazing. And unfortunately, we don't know any other casting announcements or relationships to actual characters. So we know Genevieve O'Reilly is back as Mon Mothma. We know that the cast list currently includes Adria Arjona, Stellan Skarsgård, Denise Goff, Kyle Soller, and Fiona Shaw, but we don't know who any of those folks are playing, if it's going to be entirely new characters that we haven't yet met, or characters that we have met before, in other Star Wars storytelling, I should say. Ah, goodness. And, there's not a lot in terms of secrets revealed by the sizzle reel. So, they showed sets being built, they showed creature workshop stuff, they showed concept art. Really fascinating. I think the only thing that I saw where I had a moment of, let me check this out, was in looking at the concept art, and they had some stylized Arabesh graphic representations there, and it looks like it's just initials of things. One was an SNM and another was a ZAQ, but impossible to say what either of those acronyms have anything to do with, if they actually have anything to do with anything, or if they're just, representations of how they might style the Arabesh font as they use it in various places throughout the series. One thing that we do know, which actually gives us a bit of perspective, is that it's been reported this is supposed to take place 5 years prior to the events of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And so it's about the building of a rebellion, as Diego Luna puts it in the sizzle reel. And even that kind of struck me as fascinating in the sense that Diego Luna was 37 years old when Rogue One came out, and he is going to be, 41, 42 years old as he's filming this, and it's taking place 5 years before the events of Rogue One. So he was 37 years old in a movie where his character was 26 years old when he met his untimely end, and as a 41-year-old, he's going to be playing a 21-year-old. Otherwise, the character is really ripe for filling in of a backstory and a history, because there's been precious little told about Cassian Andor's background. In the Rogue One Ultimate Visual Guide, there's information about some of his aliases that he's used in the past, but as far as missions he's been on, we have practically nothing except for the Rogue One mission. There's also the Cassian and K2SO one-shot comic that came out as part of the promotion of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and that is sometimes referred to, at least, Wikipedia, as the mission to Wesico, and that is the mission where he meets, captures, reprograms K2SO. So the fact that Alan Tudyk is not going to be in Season 1 of Andor does very strongly suggest, then, that the events of the Andor series are happening before this mission to Wesico, because there's no date in the canon storyline right now for when that mission takes place. There was also something that happened in Star Wars Adventures, which I think was something along the lines of Adventures in Wookiee Sitting, where they had young Wookiees that they were taking care of, and K2SO was involved in that Star Wars Adventures story. So also the Andor series seems to be taking place prior to those events. I think we're, rolling the dice with the idea that if K2SO isn't in the series at the start, then it's because they haven't met yet, because they do seem like they get attached at the hip to some degree, or at least that's, I guess, the kind of feel that you have from Cassian and K2 as we watch them interact in Rogue One, a Star Wars story. But then again, maybe not. I mean, Cassian was at the Ring of Kafrane, and K2 was on Wabani, so, maybe that's not the right way of thinking about it after all. We'll see. But that pretty much sums up where we are with Andor. They are filming now. They started filming in November of 2020, toward the end of that month. And based on the fact that it's going to be 12 episodes, that does strike me as being a bit longer of a production schedule, comparatively speaking. I mean, if they are half-hour episodes, then we're talking 6 hours of screen time, so that's 3 times as long as a movie. So, principal photography could be going on for a while. And as we get new updates about what's going on with that, then we'll share them here on the show. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.